Hello Guilty Gear Xrd players, this is a match review of Only Mids, a North American tournament for intermediate players. It is hosted by Coquette and occurs at the end of every month. If you're interested in playing or spectating, check out the link in the cards and details. There is no entrance fee, and if you win, you get to have your character drawn by the incredibly talented artist herself. I've done a few of these already, so check out the playlist if you want to see other tips. Also, I have two co-hosts, HypedForSlicedBread and Zero, to lend their expertise. Both of these players are incredibly talented and use multiple characters. Before I do start though, I want to let you know that a lot of the things I say are suggestions, and preferable solutions may differ based on player strength and situations. We don't claim to know every character property and move interactions, so if you find a better strategy or think we missed a point, let us know in the comments. The main goal here is to start a discussion on points to improve. Yeah, so Flufferson is doing a lot of was it Rise Stomp? The wall jump?
Yeah, his big ol' full screen pullback is Riot Stomp. Bringer's the big ol' move forward diagonal jump special.
It's very 6P-able, so that's your general answer. Sometimes a lot of Soul players will default to that because it's very easy to hit confirm and combo, like what's happening right now.
Exactly.
So sometimes if it's happening quite frequently, you can just wait in 6P. It's a very strong answer.
6P always wins. If you have a unique kind of counter type move, that's always a big thing. I know it's also like extra credit, but it's also always counter hit state when you 6P it. So you always get to kind of lock in your best punish if you have one.
Yeah, I mean, counter hit only combos might be a little bit more deeper end. At this level,
sure. I will say, on for sure, the thing that stands out to me about Mavrenary, right now, is Mav needs to find a usage for meter. Right, there's a million ways to use meter in this game, and there's in quotations better ways and worse ways, but it's even if you wake up super, that's fine. But it's a resource that you have to get comfortable with in some way.
Yeah, it's better to use it than just sit on it.
Yeah, and Mav's been getting a lot of meter through the set, so it's definitely, and Jam, a character that just builds meter without even trying. So you definitely want to find a good way to use it.
Yeah. I guess if I were to add a little bit more usage that's really apparent right off the bat, is you said overdrives, dead angles. You talked about dead angles. I think is very good too. It's really easy to decide when to use it. And I guess combo-wise, you could probably, because Jam doesn't get a knockdown usually without cards. So if you could probably do throw RRC, then get a card,
throw RRC is a good one for sure.
Yeah, and I think the last one is J2K RC, because J2K itself usually doesn't
instant overhead. Yeah.
So those are probably points to look for. Universal mechanics and probably those two are probably a good place to start.
Yeah, that's. Oh, nice backdash. No punish though, because that's John.
I feel like ACL was possible as a punish.
Yeah, I don't know, man. A backdash into HCL versus that super is fast.
Yeah, it is fast. Really fast. We could probably something to look at.
Yeah, I mean, her whole thing, right? I would imagine the one of Ino's very, very prominent strengths is how long no Oguzena lasts and how stable it is for letting her run mix-ups.
Also another thing, because now that I think about it, I reviewed a whole bunch of Ito matches, but I never got around talking about this. I think at the intermediate levels and lower, this reset will happen quite a lot.
All the time, dude. I've seen some of the better players to touch this game get caught by that sometimes.
Yeah, but at
they shouldn't. But.
Yeah, because at the high levels, everybody knows how to deal with it. So I'm gonna talk about that solution. It's also funny because I did this a lot in the beginning because I was not only did it hit a lot, but I was also not very confident. I noticed Cap been missing a lot of the air dash combos. So I feel like this is also part of the mindset or reason why Eno players do this. So if the Eno player's dropping a lot of combos, air dash parts, links, there's a good chance they're gonna do this. So I would stay extra vigilant if they miss a few air dashes in a row. But anyways, this air reset can be punished. I've noticed a lot of people don't tech to avoid getting reset, but that's a C tier answer. What you want to do is wait a little bit, delay tech forward. By doing that, you'll be able to recover before she lands and punish.
That said, I'm curious to see how Hold Back to Bark handles or continues to handle just HCL and Note in neutral, because those are the two biggest offenders for.
Yeah.
Johnny's getting kind of like unnecessarily bullied in this matchup. Kitsugi.
Well, I could definitely say ACL definitely is very hard to deal with as Johnny, because all of his grounded approaches usually gets clipped by it. And like I said earlier, he can't dash underneath it unless, like, I think one of the bigger things you can do is like 6K through it, but that's like a hard read at that point.
Yeah.
So like, if Eno's doing a lot of ACL, which Cat isn't really doing too much, is to, you know, air dash, instant air dash, because the recovery on that move is stupidly long. So that's one option. And for Note, Zero does this to me all the time, is to use the Misfinder to cut through it.
Yeah, level 1 zoning can't ever go wrong, right?
Yeah.
But yeah. It hasn't come up like a whole ton so far. Oh, that's a huge punish. Yep, damn it. Damage is why this is a scary matchup for Axel, because range is in many ways equivalent. However, every time you end in Renson and decide to be minus, things like Beak Driver are suddenly a huge potential threat.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. It seems like I generally have the image like very similar effective range, like mid-range, long range, but one side does more damage. But I guess you probably have to play patiently around food, is what I'm assuming you have to do as an Axel player.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Sin, I think, you know, as you get more comfortable, the most important thing everyone will always tell you is to instant block outcome. That's a great starting point. It really like reduces his presence on offense by a lot. I also think, for what it's worth, I mean, like, ending in Renson's cool and all, but like you could also try to avoid it a little bit wherever you can. But I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, sometimes you just have to Renson and kind of block and let him spend the Beak Driver food, you know, like every now and then. For what it's worth, I you know, I could be wrong because I don't play this matchup like almost ever with Sin, but it's also like, and it's come up a good bit here and there, is like you want to really check what's it called? You really want to make sure you're checking like Sin Leap, because things like 2S have to be good against it, I imagine, like on reaction. Or like 6K on reaction to Leap. Things like that seem like they'd be pretty good. In other words, like
you're talking about the
me,
63K and his 6H, right? Or
I'm talking about 2S and 6K.
Oh, okay.
For Axel defensively, like on a lot of the spots, like let's say like this makes contact right here and they leap. Oh, I guess if you get hit, right? But I mean more so like in general, there like any spot where Beak Driver is connecting and Jazzy, let's say, opts to leap, I have to assume Axel is like pretty comfortable there if you know what you're doing. He's just got so many potential anti-airs, you can't like move back to bait them, you know? That it's like, I think at the very least you could probably force a very grounded game in this matchup as Axel, and then just focus on like blocking out a lot of the Beak Drivers and a lot of these pokes that are just like, the big thing is like Naja's just being impatient, I think, at these ranges.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of Beak Driver counter hits out.
That, and I feel like there's way too much for me. I mean, like, I don't play either of these characters, but I think there's too much like 2HF full screen where there's no chance of reaching.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
There's a lot of this preemptive like button throwing, even though I think Jazzy has been throughout this whole match not forcing the issue. So I think that's where maybe Nausea was a little bit too scared. I'm not sure, but it's just there's too much whiffing for a counter style character. At least like you have
Definitely
to throw out
play
buttons
more
that reach.
forward. Like Nausea is like you were saying, like he's shooting like 2H and Renson when he's out of range, right? He should just like check and just play more forward and just play close up, because Jazzy's like, comfortable just like dashing in and empty blocking, so you can just kind of like walk up throw or like.
Yeah, I think the
pressure up
idea
close.
is that you can close more gap than you probably think in this situation.
Yeah.
Like the respect has already been earned, you know.
And I think what Jazzy's doing really well is like going, you're whiffing 2H, you're whiffing Vincent, and you're gonna like you're gonna do like an impatient, like was it 63k, whatever that hot move is. Yeah, and it's like you're gonna do that, you know, and that's risky. See, there it goes. There's a lot of that during the match where Jazzy did a very good job of like, yeah, you seem scared, so I'm gonna wait till you do something like really risky. And that's hitting every time, and like Nausea's not catching on that and still trying to play the active side. And I think like that's okay in certain matchups, but like when you have a character that's playing in the same range as you, like it's sometimes better to wait or do a counter style, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you ask me, right, like if I look at both these characters and you ask me like who do I think should be on the back foot and more reactive, and who do I think should be a little bit aggressive, probably Axel on the back foot. Like you don't want to mess with the damage output if you're wrong, right? Like on stuff like this. That definitely, and like you guys were saying, like Jazzy was already doing like run up block, so it's like the respect's been earned. So just like better capitalization on it, probably.
Yeah.
And less impatience.
Yeah, less impatience. More focus on, I guess, counter play style. Like don't force the issue.
Matchups, and I think this one's one of them too, until the chip players are more comfortable waiting for it. But if they're running around on the ground a lot or throwing things out, then it's important to turn. That's a good burst. Does a lot of damage potentially.
Yeah. I think this is something I think about a lot, especially when I play against like beginner or intermediate players. If people whiff a DP, like a hard read DP, they're gonna usually burst after it. is the image I have.
It's the survival instinct is what I call it.
Yeah. A lot of good players, like when I play you guys, I don't really like try to bank on it. But I've noticed this a lot about like beginner and intermediate players. The moment the block, I'm actually surprised Intervision.
It's also a chip thing.
Yeah. It's definitely a chip thing. I mean, you don't have as much time. People underestimate how little time he has decisions like that.
Yeah.
In terms of his health bar. Bro, it's definitely a chip thing, but I know what you mean. It's the panic button, right? It's the survival instinct.
Yeah.
It's the psychological element of being told. This is a great combo, by the way. This is a really fancy. It's a psychological element of being told, yeah, you press this button when you're getting comboed. Like,
yeah, it's a very clear situation that you're going to get in a lot of pain. So it might not be a bad idea, especially in a tournament setting, to like maybe do 1 or 2 hits of burst safe on the first 2 hits, even if you sacrifice a lot of damage.
Yeah, usually it's the classic is something like jab, spaced out button in the sweep, that kind of thing. Safe punish really checks for a lot of value potentially. And like mixed success with it is like once Chip has the lead.
See again.
It's the survival instinct. It's the survival instinct.
You gotta watch out for that. Can I go back and talk about an incredibly general thing earlier? You know how I talked about if somebody whiffs or they get the reversal blocked, they're gonna burst like on the first or second hit of the punish.
Yeah.
This is another one I see quite often that you probably should take advantage of, is when lunging counter hit punish moves like, let's say, Soul's Fafnir or Stroke to Tree. I'm pretty sure Fafnir on hit is burst safe, right? If you don't press it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So
You never want to burst.
yeah. So, but this is absolutely a panic burst situation like we see right here. So it might not be a bad idea, just like punishing reversals to bait it, at least for in tournament situations like this.
Yeah, it's pretty chill for him specifically to off of Fafnir. You don't lose too much like committing to.
Yeah.
is that he just does damage, dude.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
he just does damage,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
he's rewarding if you're right. Option select.
You know, it's a funny thing is I've reviewed with Bridge so many times.
Yeah, Bridge is a distance goer in these, man. We see them a lot.
And it's always to me. It's very funny because the very first round of this is just what I observed. I guess because so for people who don't know, Raven's 2D to scratch only works on the floatier characters.
Yeah, anyone that's like
until
lightweight.
until he gets excitement levels. But Bridge always does 2D to scratch on the very first
Muscle memory.
Yeah. But it's something that now it's a ball now, right? Because like Bridge is like, oh shoot, yeah, that doesn't give knockdown, so it's always very interesting to see.
Yeah, it's usually just like that first one. I think part of it is maybe also just the default of like, well, scratch is safe. You know, like if you weren't ready for the hit confirm for whatever reason, even though they should have been ready because
that was way hit confirmable, yeah.
It was a very like it was a punish for the start, you know,
Yeah.
type of hit confirm.
There's a point where because I watched this so much, I thought Bridge was doing it on purpose for some reason. Like
No,
I
doubt it.
maybe like sacrifice
doubt it.
knockdown for like one tick, but I guess it might be good to just kind of like before every match just think about what to do.
I'm
after
usually
the
kind of
first
like on
2D.
the opposite end. Like we go back and forth a lot on the like Raven excitement thing, but like look at this round. Like I don't like that they routed. Like if you're not gonna take a knockdown and take needle earlier, like take the projectile like OTG, why not just scratch in the air at that point? Like Bridge would have kept the excitement earlier in this round if.
Yeah.
Right? Because if I'm not mistaken, needle doesn't give excitement, right?
No,
It's just a
no.
projectile hit
It's only
and slowdown.
scratch and command grab.
So it's like, yeah.
Yeah, I think it also might depend on the matchup. I think it's a little bit easier to maintain excitement in this matchup because I think for the sim player they most likely probably want to be in the mid close range, so they're not an immediate threat of, let's say, run up throw.
Yeah, so it's a little easier to play the RPS.
Yeah, it's also if you have meter especially, it's probably you can also bait with the stance and get some extra excitement in as well. So it might not be a bad idea to really focus on maintaining excitement. But I think a Bridge instead is doing a lot of like kind of forcing the issue with the glides in, becoming the. I mean, I understand how it goes because sometimes I kind of just want to go in and just glide in people's faces and just get 6P. But it's probably needs a little bit restraint here.
Yeah, I will say I think this the real case in point is like glide is cool and all, but unless you're spaced out for that JK, Sin 6P is coming for you, and there's not much you can do about it, right? It's a question of like if you really want to represent glide, you have to understand the spacing, where it is at least an option that Sin has to respect a little more.
Yeah, it's good as a like preemptive whiff punch though. I use it a lot against characters like
I mean it's like a grounded like mid crusher, like if you press like poke, it like crushes a lot of that stuff by jumping over and getting the punish. I find that I agree. I think Bridge is too quick to like always rely on it and not maybe like play enough off of the extra sort of like respect, we'll call it, where people start to press their pokes a little bit less in general because they're like, well, what if he glides?
Yeah, it sounds really painful, but as a Raven, like if you play Raven, but sometimes just throwing at needles like right now and being annoying like as heck with almost to zero no return is.
I genuinely, me personally, I think Raven's game plan is to like not necessarily timer scam, but it's like Raven is playing his lead. Whatever that means in the context of the way the round is going, that is how Raven plays to me. If you have like a significant health lead and let's say you're not like crazy on excitement, then just zone. Like at that point you're in like zoner mode. Like just zone out, harass, aim for them to get caught in your bigger buttons and stuff like that. If you're like steamrolling them, and you have a ton of excitement, then roll with it. You know, like
Yeah.
just keep the momentum going. But I don't find enough of them are comfortable, and bridge I think is kind of one of them. Like with what you said, I think there's not enough like, oh, let me just zone out, let me just like space needle. Because like if you don't have the excitement already, then like what are you preserving? You know?
Yeah. And I was just saying, like, even if you don't get hits with the needle, at least you're able to control a little bit of the opponent as long as you do the P needles in front of you and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, if it hits, then they get slowed down, so that's a good way to approach as well.
I think the big thing is like Raven benefits, and like you'd be able to attest to this more than I would. I think Raven to me, that's a crazy punish potentially. He's a character that thrives a lot off of like, you kind of have to play around whatever your opponent is currently worried about that Raven has. Are they worried about you dashing through things?
Yeah.
Are they worried about you gliding over things? Are they worried that you're just never gonna approach and camp excitement? Like he is like fairly responsive to how people interact with your tools, because none of your tools alone are so good they would ever just win you matches.
Yeah.
That's just like the way Raven is.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think a lot of it is like getting that level of comfort, where I think Bridge is maybe like a little too tunnel visioned right now on like gliding, like specifically in this set, but like also just like certain things in general are standing out.
It's surprising
just
because
put more focus on like neutral, right? Like 2Hing a bit more, like playing in like mid range, I would say, instead of like risking doing glides.
yeah, it's funny because I don't know what changed with Jazzy, but it's getting hit a lot with the stray.
He's running into stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's running into stuff a lot more. Nice pick. Yeah, and like I do think like for what it's worth, I mean, Raven never really wins risk reward, and that always kind of holds him back in some ways.
Yeah.
Especially in a matchup like this. But like, I would imagine like Raven Dash seems pretty chill into a character like Sin. You know, like the potential to dash through buttons like Slash or 2S or things like that, if you're like really looking for that explicitly, is pretty solid. I don't think for as good as Sin's neutral is, like it's kind of scary to potentially whiff things pretty easily versus Raven, I would imagine. Whether it be because of glide or because of dash through, etc.
Yeah. But Bridge is doing a lot of jump back, and that's hurting a lot as well. Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Sin usually worries more about jump forward aggressively versus him than, let's say, like jump back during his block strings. Oh, Bates.
Oh my god, like 4 JDs in a row hit.
Yeah, it was a lot. Scramble, yeah.
Yeah,
I would say to me, like Jazzy just kind of rolled on offense the moment Bridge was blocking.
It's surprising because I don't usually see a Bridge like panic this much on defense, but there was certainly a lot of like jump backs, button pressing, and in very risky situations.
Back,
Yeah, there was a lot of throw mashing and like a lot of like delayed JD Okazema situations with Sin that led to a ton of damage.
Honestly speaking, yeah, like the risk is definitely very scary in this matchup, but the mix-up itself is not that crazy for Sin, I think. I think the thing you have to probably look out for is the JD, which was hitting at the very end, but other than that, I think a Bridge was getting hit by, jumping back or panic, like, or for trying to force with a glide from a jump back, than actually getting opened up by a mix-up by Jazzy. So that's something that's probably to think about sometimes, like you I think one thing, especially when it gets this deep in the bracket, the players are a lot more comfortable in terms of what the opponent's doing and looking at it. So I think Jazzy's like, oh, you're jump backing like crazy, or you're taking like that. I think that weight, like Jazzy was like, I'm gonna charge it because I think you're gonna do something like scared, like being scared.
4H again, right? The thing I will say, and this is like in my opinion, like more direct to this matchup specifically, I think for Bridge is like Jazzy's burning through calories in these block strings. Like they are like he is frequently ending up at like yellow threshold mid block string, which is like that's not a good thing for Sin. Like if you block it out and kind of wait and then maybe like just don't get thrown at above 50% risk, like a lot of situations where I think Jazzy invested a ton of resources like in a block string and then just got rewarded because Bridge would, panic a little bit like you guys are saying, and then the hit would come. Where it's like, in all honesty, like if you kind of wait that stuff out, like Sin can't, like you're saying, like you can't really force the initiative.
That's Sin 101. You gotta wait till he burns his calories and then force
it
him
just
to spend
depends,
meter.
right? Like if he is say like staggering a whole ton like elk into like reset, beak driver into like reset, like then you're kind of like, okay, now like he's not wasting calories versus me during these sequences, and so you kind of feel more incentivized to act a little bit more immediately. But when he's doing like beak elk, like those are frame traps and you can't really mess with them. That's like the strength of it, and you just wait, and it'll cost a lot of resources to play like that. A lot of, like, look at this block string, boom boom, look at that health
it's already
resource.
yellow. Yeah,
right, like that's a dangerous thing to do as Sin, because basically the next time Jazzy does opt to special cancel in that same string, he's gonna have to spend bar. Like he's gonna have to spend bar to get the eat again, whether it hit or not. But I would say like a lot of it is, and like Bridge was instant blocking a lot of it. I think they just panicked because they were like, well, what do I do after? And it's like, well, you can kind of just wait.
yeah.
Wait and see if you can push Sin out, and then Sin cannot do the same thing again. He already spent all his resources,
Yeah, if I guess I would say like instant blocking is nice to get that tension pulse, but if you're in that situation where you're trying to burn out like the burnout calories, then you could just FD to also
either
push
one's
out
fine.
risk as well.
Either one's kind of fine. I like instant blocking because it just always checks Sin a lot. He doesn't feel comfortable if you're instant blocking things like elk hunt.
Yeah, no, for sure.
But yeah, I think that stood out to me a lot. Like I said, like I guess a better, more direct way to put it is like, how everyone tells you like how do you deal with projectile YRC? What's the best response to projectile YRC? Non-rhetorical question. What do you guys think is like the best response to somebody doing, say, like card YRC, ice spike YRC, stun edge YRC? What's the best response? What do you think is the best response?
I mean, it depends on, I guess,
block.
the space.
It's
Block,
block.
yeah.
Block, yeah. Well, let's say you have to block, right? Like, let's say you're like mid-distance, block, right?
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, I think of Sin's food as just meter. Like, it's just his secondary meter bar. In other words, like, what do I do if he's just throwing meter? What if I do if he's doing this to me? It's like, wait, just let him do it. Like, he can't do it forever.
Yeah.
People can't projectile RC forever. So the same way you treat that's how I treat Sin food a lot.
No, you're absolutely right. It is a resource, and he is significantly weaker without it. So
So it's like something to consider. And then like for real, last thing I'll say is like, I get that on paper, Raven does not feel comfortable to the same degree as other characters in defensive situations, period. Jump into air dash out is literally not an option that exists for him. Like he just can't do that. So you don't have that. Your backdash is insanely underwhelming, and especially in the corner, it's definitely like one of the worst in the game. If you compare them, like it's usable in specific context, but it's no Johnny Elfalt backdash where it's gonna work out, Yeah. But I do think like that's not an excuse to just like panic a back on a character like Raven.
I think it's more of a reason,
It's more reason,
to get
right,
good
that
at
you cannot-
blocking.
Yeah.